Good Friday morning, everyone. I'm busy here. Not as busy as Constance, though, doing all of the wonderful things that she needs to do to get me on an airplane next week to go to Golden, Colorado for the 14th Noticon, or National OTO National Convention, U.S. I think, hang on just for a second. I'm going to take the telemarketer phone off of the hook, and I'm going to plug in my computer and get it off of its battery. I hope I didn't screw anything up there. I hope you're still hearing me and everything. Anyway, yes, I will be at Noticon. It starts a week from today, actually, and I'm looking forward to it. It's the first I've been out of the house since the pandemic, except for having to move here to Sacramento and that kind of stuff. But I've been pretty much a hermit, and but I'm taking all the precautions and everything, and everybody is at Noticon is going to still be encouraged to be vaccinated and tested and things like that. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. Anyway, I will be broadcasting, or at least I plan to be broadcasting. I don't plan on missing a single one of our mornings together here. The timing may be a little different each day while I'm at Noticon, but I hope to have some kind of a show going, perhaps even from my telephone at the airport, whatever. It'll be an adventure for both of us. Anyway, starting yesterday, I'm a Scottish Rite Mason, and the Scottish Rite bodies of Missouri are doing a remarkable service for Scottish Rite Masons. There's 32 degrees in the Scottish Rite. There's a 33rd administrative degree, but there are 32 degrees. And they're beautiful, elaborate ceremonies, costumes and dialogue and wisdom and Kabbalah, and it's why you couldn't say it's magical from a technical point of view, but it certainly is dramatic ritual, and it's awesome. It's an awesome experience, and it takes in order to if you're lucky enough to see them all, or to at least be conferred and acquainted with them all, you're very lucky, Ben. And it takes the better part of a year and a great deal of effort among many Masons in your particular valley to mount and confer these degrees at what they call reunions. Well, obviously, like the OTO and like other groups that meet in person, the pandemic has just blown a hole in those kinds of activities. And the brothers at the Missouri Scottish Rite bodies said, let's make a movie. Let's make a movie of the 32 degrees, and let's register it in such a way as we can actually, until this emergency thing is over, though, we can actually be able to confer these initiations kind of live for our members and for our candidates and stuff. It's a huge task, okay? And when I read about it, I thought, oh, I got to register and see this. I was lucky enough, I'm lucky enough to be associated with the Long Beach Scottish Rite bodies, who under normal circumstances pretty much are able to confer all of the degrees from 4th to 32nd in an elaborate manner. But anyway, so I've been watching. Yesterday I started watching it, and they do a wonderful job. If you happen to be a Scottish Rite Mason, just Google around and register with it, just to refresh your memory. What a awesome experience it is. And on that theme, I am reading from my book, The Key to Solomon's Key. The newest edition is subtitled, Is This the Lost Key, or Is This the Lost Symbol of Masonry? And I'm reading from the chapter, The 7 Secrets of Solomon. And I did the first 3 yesterday, first 3 secrets. And I won't read the exegesis on them, but the first 3 were simply secret number 1, the individual is the fundamental unit. Secret 2, human beings are inherently good. Number 3, human beings evolve and with intent can accelerate the evolutionary process. Okay, the idea being that in order to actually begin to think that you're doing magic, you have to be a special kind of person. You have to be particularly, profoundly, personally liberated. Otherwise, you're not the conduit of the divine force that is your juice, if you will, your magic juice, to give you the so-called authority to then control and direct the so-called infernal spirits. It's the Solomonic secret. You got to be a Solomon. So the first magical act a fledgling magician needs to do is, first thing first, I got to become a Solomon. And that requires a grown-up sense of spiritual liberation. So Solomon's secret number 4. I don't know how long we're going to, if we're going to do all 7 today, but I'll give it a try. Solomon's secret number 4, all is consciousness. In the 3rd degree, Master Masons are informed. Now, please, before you say, oh, he's giving away secrets and stuff. No, everything in this book, although Masons will recognize all sorts of cool Masonic stuff, everything that I quote, everything I print, everything I share is what's known as monitorial. We refer to it as monitorial. That means it's published and you can share it with anybody you want. So there's lots of shareable elements within a so-called secret or proprietary Masonic ceremony. So I'm only sharing what's already monitorial and free for anybody to share and study. In the 3rd degree, Master Masons are informed, quote, "It is the inspiration of that great divinity whom we adore, and bears the nearest resemblance of affinity to that supreme intelligence which pervades all nature, and which will never, never, never die." Even as I write, advances in human thought are melding quantum physics with ancient mysticism. One word that each of them are using when discussing the ultimate nature of reality is consciousness. In the highly acclaimed film, and this, got to remember, this was written 15 years ago, What the Bleep Do We Know? Do you remember that film? It was a fun film. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is quoted, "Consciousness is the basis of all life and the field of all possibilities. Its nature is to expand and to unfold its full potential. The impulse to evolve is thus inherent in the very nature of life." Deepak Chopra cuts right to the chase and informs us in no certain terms in this soundbite. Good is higher consciousness, evil is lower consciousness. Consciousness viewed in its supreme totality certainly could be considered the mind of God, even if proponents of the so-called intelligent design could for a moment unburden themselves of ulterior agendas, they might hasten to embrace quantum theory by quoting the Nobel Prize-winning father of quantum physics, Max Planck, who shocked everyone in the 1950s by saying, quote, "There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particles of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume this blind force, we must assume behind this blind force of existence of a consciousness and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter." So I'm going to repeat that because I boggled it. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter. All things we perceive in the cosmos, including ourselves, are aspects of consciousness within the matrix of matter. But from our limited vantage point, we are only aware of the reality of our immediate neighborhood. We can't see the big consciousness picture. Some of us, however, sense there is more. Like the ancient Hermeticists, we are drawn to speculate about the existence of levels of consciousness, both above and below our own. Deepak Chopra, his comment that good is higher consciousness and evil is lower consciousness is profoundly true from a moral point of view, but we can also view this hierarchy of consciousness the way the ancient Kabbalists and magicians did, not as abstractions, but as spiritual beings. And that brings us to Solomon's secret number 5. Deity, archangels, angels, intelligences, spirits, demons, and you and I are personifications of a hierarchy of consciousness. Now, in this little spiel that I'm about to do here for Solomon's secret number 5, it's an example that I use a lot to illustrate the nature of spiritual beings. And so if you've heard part of this before, you're not crazy. Yeah, I say it a lot, but this is where I said it first. Deity is obviously at the top of the hierarchy of consciousness. The supreme consciousness, the supreme being. All creation is a play in the mind of God. Next lower in hierarchy is a descending array of forces and energies that are more specialized envoys of intelligence in the mind of God. We could view them as units or aspects of natural forces and laws. The ancients personified them as spiritual beings, calling them archangels, angels, and intelligences. We don't actually see these forces or entities, but we're certainly aware of how they affect the world around us. For example, we could personify the law of gravity. Here, you've heard this before. We could personify the law of gravity as a great archangel. We could even give this archangel a name, Gravity-al. Gravity-al is a spiritual being with huge duties and responsibilities in the universe. As an archangel, it embodies all that is gravitational. We see the work of gravity manifest in infinite ways. The tugging of the tidal moon, the falling of a raindrop, the sagging of a breast, the plummeting of a meteor. These specific expressions of gravity could be viewed as angels working under an archangel. Okay? Viewed as angels, Tuggael, Folliel, Sagael, and Plummetiel, all working under the authority of the archangel Gravity-al. Gravity-al and his angels are responsible for organizing and directing all the work that takes place in the next lower level of consciousness, where the process of creating, sustaining, and destroying the material universe takes place. This is the world most of us consider objective reality. Magicians, however, have a more colorful name: the infernal regions. If you can suffer one more of my metaphoric excursions, let's look at God as the owner or the boss of a cosmic company. Archangels, angels, and intelligences are middle management. The workers themselves are spirits and demons that dwell on the factory floor, the lowest level of consciousness. These workers do all the heavy lifting in the universe, and they're a pretty rough bunch. After all, they're not only the cosmic construction crew, they're the cosmic wrecking crew as well. This far down on the scale of consciousness, the purity of the upper levels has become fragmented and disorganized. And if this area is not consciously directed by middle management, these broken pieces of the mind of God will, like a brutish and restless mob of unemployed and unsupervised zombie workmen, discharge their awesome energy in chaotic and destructive ways. On the other hand, once controlled by higher intelligence, they become united in service to the company. If they continue to behave themselves, they are eventually promoted to middle management themselves, and then on. The characters in the Masonic story of Solomon personifies this spectrum of consciousness. God at the top, the great architect of the universe. Solomon and his fellow Grand Masters, King Hiram of Tyre and Hiram Abiff, in the middle. And at the bottom, the workmen on the temple. Masters or overseers of the work, fellow crafts or hewers on the mountains and in the quarries, and entered apprentices or bearers of burden. If the entered apprentice works diligently, he could expect to be advanced to fellow craft, etc. Once in place and functioning, this scenario paints a picture of a universe in balance, a spiritual utopia where everyone is laboring successfully under the direction and supervision to raise themselves and their inferiors to the next higher level. And I quote again from the third degree, monitorial, talking about the workmen. These were so classed and arranged by the wisdom of Solomon that neither envy, discord, nor confusion was suffered to interrupt or disturb the peace and good fellowship which prevailed among the workmen. Unquote. But where do you and I fit in this cosmic company of consciousness? It depends upon where our present level of consciousness positions us. In our unenlightened state, we've convinced ourselves that we're infernal creatures, living and decaying on the factory floor. Once we open our eyes, however, we discover that we're relatively high in the hierarchy of spiritual beings. In fact, we are, each of us, the most important member of the middle management team, envied by the angels, feared by the spirits and demons. We are Solomon. And that was Solomon's secret number 5. I think tomorrow, to start Saturday morning cartoons, we will pick up with Solomon's secret number 6. It is our duty to master and direct the lower forces to constructive ends. So a brief review of the 7 secrets so far. The individual is the fundamental unit. Human beings are inherently good. Human beings evolve and with intent can accelerate the evolutionary process. All is consciousness. Deity, archangels, angels, intelligences, spirits and demons, and you and I are personifications of a hierarchy of consciousness. And tomorrow, it's our duty to master and redirect the lower forces to constructive ends. Well, that's it for today. If you're an OTO member, Ordo Templi Orientis member, we're talking fraternal orders this morning, I guess, and you haven't registered for Noticon and you think that you could possibly make it, I think registration is still open. It'll be at a beautiful Marriott hotel, and you'll see lots of people you haven't seen in years, and lots of new people. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. So until tomorrow and Saturday morning cartoons, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.